Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave. Today I'm joined by Zach over at Frog God Games. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing well. I'm up early for me just to be here because actually it's a good time.
I got you off center, so but I'm going to
Yep.
adjust you. No, you're fine. You're fine. You
Okay.
you stay where you are. I will do all the fixing. You're the guest.
Yeah.
So for anyone who kind of doesn't know who you are, you want to give them the elevator pitch?
I'll make it as fast as I can. My name is Zach Glazer. I'm one of the owners and managing partners at Frog God Games and Necromancer Games. We are responsible for a ton of content. We make lots of books for Dungeons and Dragons Fifth Edition. We do some work for Pathfinder 1E, and we obviously make books for our own system, which is Swords and Wizardry, which was about the original retro clone that kind of started the entire shift in the OSR back to more classic rules to be printed. Though we're not as focused on that as so much anymore as the kind of rule set it is, and making new content for it that is it's different from our 5e stuff, but it's in many ways fundamentally the same. But we try to make sure that it's a fun, quick play. So we're proud of it.
So we've kind of known each other for a while here, and it's been a little bit since I've talked to you. Well, because that was the before times when
Yeah, before
people were
times.
able to actually see each other. Um, but I think I first encountered you. You did a Kickstarter, and it was like one of the first Kickstarters I ever backed, and it was before Frog got games for you, when you were lesser known.
Yep, before Frog got
The
picked me up.
Death and Taxes. I was
Right.
because you did a box set, and I was like, oh my god, nobody does box sets anymore.
I did two of them myself, and that's actually how I got picked up by Frog God because they had planned to do a box set back in like 2016, and the one they plan on doing is showing up in 2 weeks. And so my life is all about box sets again. No, but yes, I started myself. I was sitting on like a public transportation at the time I was living in San Francisco for just with my wife's a flight attendant, so we just were kind of trying somewhere new to be, and I'm on a bus, and it just occurred to me like, I mean, you look up everything on the phone eventually. You think you run out of internet to get to.
Yeah.
But I typed in vintage Dungeons and Dragons just because I was wondering if anybody still had a copy I could read because I've been missing it. I've been played in 20 years. I just loved it. And up popped a blog called Grognardia and a great big modern review of the Vaults of the Drow. I'm like, oh my God. Like my life changed that moment because honestly, I didn't realize there are people who are still finding so much meaning in the game that meant so much to me. And so I'm like, well, people are writing stuff. I want to write stuff. I'm going to make a box set. Yeah, well, I did. I mean, too. And it was a lot of work. It was just probably the best thing I ever did. Learned how to do a million things. Like I didn't know how to use InDesign or any kind of doing layout. I never heard any production because I used to work in government. So I didn't have there wasn't a lot of elf-based language. um, but I learned how to do it all and I delivered it. And the Annie Awards were kind enough to offer me like 4 nominations, which to this day, Paizo beat me and WizKids beat me. And I feel like they robbed me. I deserve those. No, but
Forever in the book of grudges.
no, well, put it this way. When I saw the list of who it was on like same categories,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have a prayer. Not a chance. It was Rise of the Rune Lords miniatures, right?
Yeah. You know what they say. It's an honor to be
No,
nominated.
it was really an honor. And to be honest with you, it was a real eye opener because I learned a whole lot about so many things in such a small industry. There's a lot of really nichey stuff that you only kind of learn by being around, and there's really nowhere else that you pick it up. The skill set we all have in publishing is full of like a lot of really specific skills.
Yeah.
And our resource depth is not very deep, so somebody does a lot of different things. So and anyway, so I did the box sets. And I was real proud of them. They came out well, and I was able to spend a lot of time focusing on, various. I would go like sentence by sentence and get real excited about one sentence. Um, and I don't do that anymore. I wish I did. But it was I made this box set that I made miniatures and monster cards, and basically being from a small rural town, I always felt cheated that you couldn't go buy a module with all the pieces you needed to play with miniatures because I couldn't find miniatures. The only place that had miniatures had the same 5 miniatures all year, right? But but so when I made mine, I went all in. I should have brought it down from my shelf, but I went all the way and really, I made a hardcover version of it. I made an old school module that had gatefold separating version. And along the way, I learned a ton of stuff and it was successful and I actually delivered it on time. And then, so I did another one that launched, or the plan was to launch it on April 15th for Death and Taxes. And it was a different kind of adventure, but it was also a box set. And that one went well. And as I was delivering those out at GameWorld, I was giving them to some of the backers as they first came in. I shrink wrapped them. I was hand shrink wrapped at the time. I ran into the Frog God guys, and they basically bought me. They bought my company, and what they really bought was my hours, my labor.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Because my company was worth about as much as you expect.
This stack of box sets.
Yeah, no, yeah. 35 empty boxes,
yeah.
42 unpaired monster cards, a bunch of shrink wrap, and some free boxes from the post office. No, but they basically, Matt Finch and Bill Webb thought they saw something that they were lacking at Frog God, and Frog God was built like a partnership, like a legal partnership. So everybody has shares, and it's less of one guy runs it and then everybody else.
Yeah, it's like a legal firm or an accounting firm. It's really bizarre.
No, it is a little bizarre. It works. It works for us in a lot of ways because it doesn't make us vulnerable where every other publisher has been in times of change, right? Because we don't have salaries. We don't have payroll that comes back and sneaks at us and says that you have people who you owe money to because you have a legal obligation and agreement, and they have families, and our setup is much more fast and loose because as an owner, I have obligations to the company as opposed to vice versa, right? And we have a warehouse that sits on CEO's property up in Paulsbo. So when everything was shut down, like Alliance distribution during the pandemic, we were still shipping books. We print books both in Arizona and China, and so right near my house, we print softcover books. We run 2 crowdfunds a month for books like shorter, like thinner module type books. And we do that like twice a month, and then we produce other types of material. We are pretty prolific and pretty proud of it. The best parts about being a partnership like that is like the guy who's the other senior partner, Matt Finch. He moved out to right where I am, and so we actually now for the first time ever from going from like hey, I'll call you on the phone sometime in the next 36 hours to I'll walk outside and wave at him. But we do a lot more actual like work-like things. Like we feel like it's like a job in a way because we have a giant wall in an office that has nothing but a schedule.
Yeah.
And we look at the schedule. Like for all the technology in the world, we handwrite them on pieces of paper and we put them up. But
there's something to be said for that. Like,
no, I would have argued with you because I'm Mr. Technology, drives Matt crazy. But
yeah,
when you can sit and stare at a bulletin board, or it was a whiteboard in our case, and magnetically look at a schedule and go, okay, this is going to switch. You just walk up and switch it, right? And you physically have to do that. And you physically walk by it every day and you like seeing deadlines and seeing what you have to get accomplished. It gives you it was impressive. And Matt suggested it. And I thought he was just some old fogey. That was wrong.
Yeah.
I'll admit it now. I was wrong.
So like, it's funny because like I'm more like you and Ted is more like Matt in that sense where he'd be like taking notes by hand. I'm like, why are you doing that now? Like if you just did it digitally, we could copy and paste it. And if you wherever we need it as many times.
And every time that Teams quits working, every time I have like some sort of like awesome Microsoft task software, every time I have a way to make this stuff all integrated, it'll break down when I need it and Matt will snicker. And I hate that.
Yeah, every time. Sounds right. Also our content director, Doug, anytime I call him for something, he's like, let me get my notebook. And then
and Matt does that. I laugh at him because I find it just, how quaint. And then when I need something, hey, you have that written down again that you wrote down 5 weeks ago? Yes,
Yeah. My wife is the same way too with writing with the notes and the paper and the print things out so it can be highlighted.
Markers, it makes me laugh. I mean, I'm like, who does this? And then with us, and it actually works.
Yeah.
And it works for us well because we have so many in production titles at any given time, and we're getting better and better at each one of them. We're really proud of like what's being pushed out. But in order to keep up with that, I'm literally if I stop to type it on my phone, I will forget what I was doing before. Matt just types, throws it in, pops it up, and we even have a stamp. We have a little hand stamp that has
Yeah.
a Necromancer Games logo. So when we have a project that's under Necromancer, we stamp it like, kind of like one of the find them and kill them, like you saw in the movie. They stamp that and put in the top secret with Val Kilmer. We
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
stamp that assigns it to a company. We put in the wall. So that's how low tech we are in that way.
But they say when you like write with a pen or a pencil, it does something in your brain. Like it's not it's not the same as uh, taking information and moving it around in other ways.
I wrote my first box set in longhand. Um, I don't think I've written anything longhand since, except for
Yeah, yeah,
a couple of digits here and there. No, but I did. It does make a difference. You concentrate more.
yeah. So it's a yeah. Also, I have found like my ability to write has atrophied. Like I'll go to like sign a check and have to write something and be like, oh, how do I write that? Like it's apparently it's not like riding a book, riding a bike.
Well, someone told me I had to write it in script, like cursive, one time. I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't even know if I can. I'm like sitting there going, well, kind of.
yeah,
It
yeah,
came
yeah.
back from
That's what I mean. Who does that anymore?
it was something. It was something for the state. It was some kind of a document I had to sign when I was working there in 2008.
Yeah,
So I was like, you got to be kidding me, cursive, huh?
who
And then,
does that?
and of course, when the computers go out, I'm writing in cursive for all the documents, paperwork
Yeah,
there. So,
yeah. So what are you guys working on nowadays?
well, the biggest thing we've been working on for years, we have been working on these, which are actually in the port of Seattle in customs, but they're two. It's basically just it's the Swords and Wizardry, our system, which is based. Matt wrote it in 2006, 7, and we released the version called Swords and Wizardry Complete in 2009. Have since sold out of them, and we wanted to release a set that we'd want to buy, but two was a differentiate itself a little more from fifth edition, because we have so many different products, and it's for a long time it was really easy to. We have a version of this in 5e, and we have a version of this in Swords and Wizardry. Well, some stuff is great in 5e that is really not that exciting or easy to run in an older system, because they don't have the skill checks and all the various assumptions, and
Yeah,
vice versa. So we decided what we're going to do is, because we like both systems a lot, we wanted to make sure that we were producing for our system in a way that was focused on it and 5e, et cetera. So we went ahead and made a set like you would see back when the games first came out. The Swords and Wizardry is based on basically white box Dungeons and Dragons, and
right.
so it's based on the 4 little books plus like the Greyhawk supplements, et cetera. And Matt could explain that way better than I could. I own those books, but I can't read them. So, so basically, we made it comes in 4 books. Get them out here. So there's a monsters book, a little one, right? And then there's a book for referees. There's a fine set of character sheets, like pull-off ones, so you could actually so I get a glare. There we go, like that. And then a referee book, like that. So you get the small book is like you had, really back if you played Dungeons and Dragons, like right before the home set came out.
Yeah.
And we did that for a couple of reasons. One, we like the small format. But 2, we can easily recognize that we're in our own warehouse. We know what's for Swords and Wizardry and what's for 5e. No, but it's a format that I think helps separate it out. It also kind of highlights the fact that it takes you 1 page to describe something you want to do in 5e. That's a layer or whatever, complicated. It's like 2 paragraphs in Swords and Wizardry. It really is. We rely a lot more on the game master to do a lot of things that have been codified inside of 5e, and that's what makes the play style different enough. So if you like that kind of thing and you want to do that, then that's available to you. If you prefer 5e, we love that too. So anyway, we made the box sets for it, and they came with they have dice in them, and they have all the stuff that we organize. And we made a
Did the
accessory
dice
pack.
come with a crayon?
Yeah, you know what? We tried, but we couldn't find uninked dice.
Yeah.
And so the crown would have been a funny joke, but of no purpose, right? And then
Yeah.
and all the old guys, when I saw them at convention, would make fun of me. I can't do that. No. So we also made screens. We made the first, we call it an accessory pack, and what it is a secondary pack. It's shrink wrap separate, It's got a comes with a screen. It's a 4-part folding DM screen, half height. It has like upside down. So it has the tables that you need there. It hides the stuff. Has a one contiguous piece of art like back in the old days, all the way across. I want to get in the screen here. There. Right.
Is that for the GM or to split your table in half?
No, that's it. Well, it's the GM. It's half height.
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually you take 4 pages and you stack them up like your profile, so a portrait size. So the accessory pack comes with the first of the supplements, which is a book of more monsters, and the first adventure, which is called Baron's Gambit, which I think is a short but I think it's 24 pages in digest sized, written by Matt, and it just gives a kind of an indication of the difference in style between a larger 5e book and these. And so going forward, we're going to have books either for both systems that are kind of similar, or just ones for Swords and Wizardry. And then the 5e stuff, we're going to concentrate on making that as awesome as it can be. And so we kind of have the manpower and the ability, and as we've grown, we have a guy who just does art direction now, and that's all he does, and he's really good at it, right? We have people who only do conversions. We have a guy who actually concentrates on VTT stuff, and that has allowed for us to make a lot more complicated processes to make better products that are designed just for the audience we're looking for. So
yeah, you guys have really come a long way since the Necromancer game days.
Yeah, no, we have. And actually, what's interesting is Necromancer was. Oh, no one wants to talk to me. Phone went off. Necromancer games, they were like one of the first, if not the first, of the third-party publishers in D20.
Yeah.
And that was a whole era of the Wild West, man. I talked to other publishers who were there when Necromancer was working, and it was not like it is now. It's a much more grown-up business.
yeah, I'm sure.
So
things evolve.
Yeah, they do, and they evolve in a good way. We're such a small hobby. Like, when those of us are in it deep, like all you hear is like, oh, 5th edition players don't like this. Or I hate the OSR people. They're terrible. Honestly, almost everybody I meet in the hobby I really like, and we are able to be in a place now where we can serve the needs of various audiences and still make sure that we have to have someone like WotC for the size of our industry. You need an industry leader like that, and they do a good job. I'm really pleased with the Wizards of the Coast. I think that they have been nothing but good to us by letting us publish what we do, and every interaction I have with them is pretty great. They run Adventures League, which is awesome. In my lifetime, if you told me people would be 20,000 people who couldn't wait to watch D&D played live, I would have told you were a liar.
Totally liar. I think it's more like 60,000 people, but
I have no idea. I watched it. Met Matt Mercer, and I can't follow it. Okay, I'll be honest. I am too old. I don't get it. But I love the fact that it exists. And I think
damn kids, get off my lawn. Where's my
pants?
Well,
you feel that way, right? Hey man, we had 25 millimeter miniatures, and they were made out of lead, and we ate them. That's how it goes, man.
Yeah.
And we were better than the generation before us, because they ate 50,000 of them all painted like Napoleon.
Yeah.
No, but look, I got this, man. I bought this. It made Wizards of the Coast. It's just a little like dice thing. And it has, and I have a blanket that has the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon characters on it. This is a great time to be alive.
Yeah, right? It is.
I collect these things, but I can remember when someone bought me a set of Shrinky Dinks, was what they were, and they were Dungeons and Dragons with Warduke on the front, right? That was like a big deal. You had like a third-party product. You could get a book or an Endless Quest book or a game. But man, I got a pair of socks. I got my wife a little drink bottle that has D20 inside that floats. I can't even. I buy all of it because I collect that stuff. I find it fascinating, the branding, and that's a long conversation. But it's all here, man. It's a lifestyle brand, and I'm glad.
Yeah, the lifestyle has become bigger than the game.
No, and you know what? That was always, I think, their goal.
Yeah.
And they're there. What they have to do is maintain the game just so they don't F it up, right? Because what's next is movies and video games. You're the top tier there. You're fighting with Star Wars and like Lord of the Rings at that point. They're close.
Yeah. We'll see what they do with the movie. They're going to screw it up.
Guaranteed. Well, not everybody will like anything. I didn't like the first one, but you know what? I still remember it.
Yeah.
But I think that it's hard to be good at that when you're good at selling Monopoly, right?
Yeah,
And you're
that's
good at
true.
selling, very specific things like, GI Joes. It doesn't translate well to I can make great movies, but all of us in our hearts believe we can, right? We can make great video games. I just know it until you try, right? So what they've done wisely is they've let 5e grow and be all it can be because they really made a difference from 40. I remember when there was no 5e
Yeah.
game stores and they felt like different places.
Although, I mean, at this point, there's a lot of people in the industry that are gamers. So it's not like who would love to have input, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they couldn't lean on anybody to get the perspective of someone that loves the hobby and is a professional.
Yeah, no, and the thing is that wasn't there before, right? But they cultivated the point where like
Yeah.
I got a request from Joe Manganiello. He needed a copy of the Player's Handbook in Japanese to 5e, and he needed it yesterday. And I got the call, and I made it. I said I could send it to him. Right? I,
Yeah.
there's some really neat people who are doing things in our hobby that involve like the entertainment industry or people who just. I work with a guy he's the COO of Corsair Computer, and he
Yeah.
like wants to volunteer to do stuff for us. And it's like, okay, right. We just have a fantastically broad user base of really smart people that we now we everywhere to go is still up for us in terms of just the game in general. I think Hasbro has been real smart about it, and Wizard Coast has been smart about it and treated us all pretty damn good. And so it could have been so awful in so many ways when they released 5e, and it wasn't. It was great.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? Think about it. Like, if you think about when you were a kid and what we were doing, right? Like, so I wasn't like a jock. I wasn't playing sports. And, neither were a lot of my friends, right? So, like, they're going to be like the kind of more intellectual, nerdy kids or the theater kids. So it only makes sense that then, as we've gotten older and grown up, that these are the industries we now work in. But the
that's
cool
actually a
thing
good point.
is, like,
I
it's
hadn't thought of that.
becoming
That's true. That's a good point.
it's becoming more widely accepted, and like we're also like bringing our kids into it now, and I
It's
don't
no
know.
longer in the danger of being a fad. It's actually become a pastime.
Yeah, it's on the verge of mainstream. There is a YouTuber called Dungeon Coach,
Hmm.
and he's like a track and field coach, uh, and he runs games for like all of his players. So you have
You
like
won't
all
believe
these like all the jocks are now playing D&D.
no, I know it, but when I went to the bank, right, and I had to do something unrelated to all of this, and like occupation, and I always hate that question, right? I'm like,
Uh,
well, okay, it's like this. You ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons? Because that's the way you got to start. Otherwise, I don't do that anymore. If I say you ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons? Well, yeah, because I write, basically I write books for Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah.
Oh my God. And like young women would be like, that's great, that's awesome. Like young women didn't react like that in the 80s. I promise.
Yeah.
And it's great because you know what? We actually,
Uh,
my games are, 50-50 male, female, and they're fun. And, everything is like not like it was, but all the good stuff's still there, right?
yeah.
But yeah, you're totally right. It's mainstream to the point where I went to Target and I saw like 5 of the hardcover books there. I hadn't seen in my town one for sale in a store in 30 years. I hadn't seen a mainstream store in that long. In fact, the day I saw the Essentials kit at Target, I sent a picture and a thank you to I don't know, I should probably name him, but the gentleman who's in charge of the supply chain stuff over Wizards of the Coast. I'm
Yeah.
like, I owe you one, man. It's all back. And he told me, he goes, I did it for me because I'm the reason they had the commercial in Brazil that tied up the end of the cartoon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he did that because he believed that he lived his whole life without that having a satisfactory ending. So he said he did it for himself as well.
Oh, okay. So they were directly involved in that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know if it was just like, it's in a country they can't do anything about it. So
nothing is like that anymore.
yeah,
In fact, I send him pictures of all the ephemera I wind up buying. So I got a D20 blanket.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't even begin to go. I have a pair of slippers, right? I have, a popcorn container. I mean, you name it. Anyway, I was sending pictures like, this is what happens. I had to buy this at Hot Topic. I'm not allowed to walk in there probably. If I walked in there for any other purpose, I'm sure it'd be like on some kind of list. But I had to go buy my dice bag there. Hot Topic where they sell your punk rock clothes to young people and
yeah,
my
yeah.
dice bags. So
I don't know. Is punk rock still a thing?
Well, I didn't know it either, but apparently the store's still a thing, and the people there are still young, like they were when I was young.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you
Wait a
still
minute.
sell
Come on. That
this
store
here.
didn't exist when you were young.
So yeah, but it's been a crazy ride, and I think it is the point where I'm a big believer that it was 5E's in good hands. I don't think it's going to change much. They have a 60, more power to them. They're going to do something smart with it. They do, and
Yeah.
it's a growing. We still grow. There's growth everywhere, and it's a good deal. And after I thought it was to be the horrible times of last year, our local stores in Phoenix, there are five of them. There are still five of them. They don't run events or anything yet, but they have an active uh, people who come in. They actually gained customers because people were looking for stuff to do together. They couldn't go, don't want to, didn't feel comfortable going to a theater, going to where they used to. But the same people they have in their little circles with the COVID, they started to play Dungeons and Dragons on VTTs on Zoom. My boss, who cannot use a computer, but can turn on a cell phone, runs a game on Zoom.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
we have a virtual event for us, the Frog Eye Games. We get together a weekend with fans who want to come play games with us, and um, we all run this stuff there on Zoom. And people we have played with at conventions, who literally swore they would never ever do a VTT game, are the first ones to show up when we fire up the meetings. Right? It's been interesting.
2020 is been good for that, right? Like bringing
Yeah.
people online that weren't going to do it, and then once you like do it and you break your own inertia, like it gets so much easier. So it's
I
going.
used to calculate distance with a ruler. What
Yeah.
was I, dumb? Yeah.
Yeah. Like a sucker. Now you can just drag your
Yeah.
arrow,
I
right?
used to do math.
Yeah.
Math, man. Yeah.
We have
No,
computers for that
it's
now.
amazing how well it works. It's amazing what's coming soon with all that, and the kind of tools that are available with like Doug Davidson over at SmartWorks. We're talking about Unity is the engine they use to make the new tool. Well,
Yeah.
you know what else they make in Unity? Every game I play on the Oculus Rift,
Oh,
right?
nice.
And so all those things are kind of converging to the point where you and I are going to have the end of our days, man, where we're going to have driverless cars and the ability to play Dungeons and Dragons sitting in the old folks' home, happy as a clam.
From the back seat of our driverless car.
Yeah, probably. I mean, quite likely with a hologram of a hologram projection, in the
Yeah.
other room, all around the table still. I know it's what we are able to experience. You and I think, as we get ready to drive into our sunset years, is the
Yeah.
fact that a distance is going to mean a lot less, and that's
What
going to help.
was it
That'll
Captain
help us.
America where they had like the hologram images of the different people from like the board of directors from Shield? Like that's what
Yeah.
gaming's going to be like one day.
Have you ever seen a HoloLens from Microsoft?
I have not.
No, the HoloLens is exactly that. An overlay over reality. You see real actual holograms. Well,
Yeah.
now they make the stuff for business meetings where you sit at a table. Well, I see you at one desk and you at another desk, and everybody kind of shares the same perspective. So you actually have meetings in person without having meetings in person.
Oh, that's
And
crazy. I want to have to look
that's
that
great for
up.
meetings. It's going to be awesome for D&D.
Yeah.
So,
So, we've got some links in the description. I mean, we always have links in the descriptions. We have some special links. You guys were kind enough to give us some links that are discount codes, and also there's like a secret link in the description as well to your.
I can explain that.
Yeah, explain
Yeah.
away.
We are running we do two types of projects. We do large crowdfunded projects. We do them on Kickstarter, but we do smaller books and sizes like this. So thin. These are printed in the United States. We do them at a fairly rapid clip. We use Indiegogo as our funding platform for those, and we don't sell a ton of them. We sell enough of them to make printed copies for those who want them, and then we sell them as PDFs throughout for a long period of time. They actually grow our the various world stuff we have going on with the World Anvil and other places. So content's king. So, but we use Indiegogo platform for this, and what they do that nobody else does is they let me make secret perks. They call them like secret pledge levels. So I have a link that gives us some kind of special discount or something to a group that we want to entice. And so, well, because I'm the only guy who knows how to make them, I made one for Nerdarchy. And
That's
so
pretty cool.
on that link, if you click to go there, there's a special link that gives you about 10% off of the price of the actual crowdfund, which is unusual. You get that, and you get to join a pledge called Temple of Nerdarchy, because what we're running right now is something called the Temple of Dagon, and it's for 5e Pathfinder and Swords of Wizardry. That was written by James Thomas, the guy who wrote these two books here. Got a lot of great art by Artem Shkayev and just we're real pleased with it. And if you want to check them out, there's a discount way to do so through the secret link. So
Sweet.
so that's one of them.
I wonder if like Kickstarter and stuff will be doing that, doing things like that in the future. Um,
I think you see, we already see add-ons over there. I think you'll see more. Kickstarter right now is a different place than it was a while ago. We we intentionally have, we have Necromancer Games and Frog God Games Kickstarter uh, channel sorry, accounts, right? So we can run two different projects, and not simultaneously, but back and forth. And we have found that Kickstarter is much slower in response to approving projects than it used to be, and they are uh, not harder to get a hold of, but they are harder to you don't get can't get a hold of them frivolously. They pay attention to you when they need to, um, and so I think they're growing up as a business as well. And so we find that they pay a lot of attention to things that work, and one of them was the you can do add-ons now in the Kickstarter, so you can, rather than have to go to a backer kit to do so, and you can also do other kinds of enticing pledges. You can have a pledge that only lasts 24 hours for this many people, or et cetera, et cetera. And you'll probably see stuff like this on Kickstarter as well. Everybody's is competitive and paying more attention because they get used. But when I did my first Kickstarters, like the one you joined, it was the Wild West, man.
yeah,
I mean, people were running projects for all kinds of stuff. And I think I backed like 70 projects in 2 years, and I got about 50 of them showed up, 10 of them in okay shape. But I mean, it was a different time. Now it's a business model, and they know it. And so they're making sure that it follows those kinds of steps. So consumers are protected, creators are protected from themselves, and everybody is in it for the right reasons, basically.
I hope they start integrating that because that got far more complicated this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been
Well,
learning
yeah.
about international shipping more than we
Well, boy, we could bore the world with that right now. I mean, I could
ever. Oh
bore you.
yes, we could.
I know more about that than I ever cared to. We've been working for almost 2 years now for a
Yeah.
solution to that for us that is unique to us because of how we sit. And we're almost there, but my God, man.
Do you guys still move a lot of Pathfinder 1E stuff? Because I see you guys
we
making stuff in
we
Pathfinder
we
1E
we
stuff.
make stuff for it, and we make enough. It's hard. It's one of the things is as it isn't as popular, of course, as it was. The
Yeah.
people that can actually do work for it, like we need converters, or we need to make anything. We have to make sure we have a depth of at least two people. So if I die, there's somebody who can take over for me, right?
Right.
It was getting harder to find that, and we were selling enough copies to be profitable, but not everyone's a good Pathfinder module. So we're still going to be doing it. We're going to do it for ones that it makes sense in. Like Temple of Dagon was written in Pathfinder, and so
Okay.
it's a good one for it. We have coming up. We have books for Kickstarters coming up that work really well for Pathfinder 1E, and they'll be there. We can't produce like we used to, the 800-page books that are printed overseas for Pathfinder because we don't sell enough copies to justify that. But we can certainly make books. So you'll see more from us this year and next year in Pathfinder 1. Just it won't be everything. It'll be more
Right.
targeted, but we have a loyal audience. We started out, Frog God was making stuff for Pathfinder 1. Slumbering Czar, right after 4E came out, and they decided not to support it in Necromancer. 12 months later, they were making Slumbering Czar at Frog God for Pathfinder. So we have a lot of audience that's been there. They could stack their books. We sold them high enough to be taller than they are, put it that way. So
I believe it. I mean, it was a prolific system. That was like the thing with 3.5, and they just took that and kept running with it. So
well, every day I always figure that I see the end games of my life. I go to a used bookstores in Phoenix, and there are 4 walls full of D20 stuff.
oh yeah, yeah.
And I pick it up, I look at the credits, like I know him, I know
It's
him.
funny.
Oh,
My group
yeah,
hated
but
me because I was always like, I was the one that would drag everyone kicking and screaming into the new edition or new thing. Um, like I don't know. I guess like I never grew like attached to any of the editions so much so that I was like, I was just like, oh, they're doing something new. I want to see what
well,
the
let's
new
try
thing
something new.
is.
No, I'm with you. I was a big fan when I played it of 1E and it's 0E. But I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, when 5E came out, I was super pleased. I really liked it a lot. I liked 2E when it came out too. Now I play Swords and Wizardry now, partially because I believe in Swords and Wizardry, Matt Finch. No, no, partially
Yeah.
because it is fun, it's quick, and it's easy, and something I can remember.
Yeah.
I don't have, I hate to say it, the ability to run a game, a long one, like with professionally with customers, like for a campaign. I don't know the rules of 5e well enough to, not that they change, but I'm so busy doing publishing rules on paper that I don't actually spend a lot of time reading the new ones. Like I have all the books. I got Tasha's guide and I got the Xanathar's, and they add new rules.
Yeah.
So I can play them. I'm excited about that. So, but yeah, it's edition changes to me as long as you have a good GM, I think, and a good fun party. I think that any game's fun. I really do.
That's always like my thing, right? Like I'm always more concerned about who's playing than what we're playing. Um, and
Yeah.
if I'm not running the game, I generally don't care that much. It, if I'm running, then I definitely have my preferences. But if it's just a group of people that I want to game with, like I know we're gonna have fun regardless of what the system
Well,
is.
the hard part is for you and I is what do you pick, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know if which one am I going to go with, right?
it's
And you have the same. You
lot of
must have
shelving
hundreds.
of books there.
No, and that's one of 3 rooms. And they're all box sets from like the 80s, but I want to try all of them. Guess how many I've
Yeah,
tried this year?
yeah, that is tough. There's so many good games, and like we're doing these right, so I'm bringing on like designers all the time, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, I haven't played your game yet.
No, look, I have one of the things I recognize is we have a wealth of choices, and much of our stuff that is made by all the companies
Mhm.
is all aspirational. I'm going to run Master Hotep this year, I swear, right?
Yeah,
Well, I'm not. I want to. I would kill to do the horror in the Orient Express. That was so awesome. All this great stuff inside. Huge. Weighs 5 pounds. I won't get to it. Do I like owning it? Yeah, I like owning it a lot.
yeah.
And
You're a
do I want
collector though.
people
You
to play
got
it?
like
Yeah.
everything, right? You go
Yeah.
to the auctions and compete for the stuff, right?
I will neither confirm nor deny that I spend some money at auctions.
Is
Yes.
your wife in the other room?
My
Is
wife
that
is on
what?
she's a flight attendant. She's on a trip, but she might be watching. And if she is, I would never buy anything without your permission, baby. I promise.
Yeah. I've never actually been to one of the auctions.
Well, that's how I came back into the hobby was because I went to collector's sites. My goal in
Yeah.
2010 was I want to get a copy of all 14 books I had in high school. I just love those. My mom tossed them, right? I'm like, I love those. I want to get those back. Well, that lasted about 4 weeks. And I'm like, I always want to know what's in this module. And then I got like all the modules and stuff in the first edition. Then I didn't know what existed out there. And that was just the long road in. And then you start hanging out with the collector people like Alex Kammerer runs Gamehole Con, and I'm Doug Ray of North Texas Con. The people who run those are collectors. And you're like, well, you know, that seems really reasonable for a copy of Empire of the Pale Throne.
Yeah.
You get stuck in there, but you get to see some really neat stuff. I find that being in business here and actually being this is my job. I find that looking at the stuff that's existed from 40 years ago to all the way to now, they all tell a story business wise too, right? And I can see where people were going with that. Some ideas were great and they never caught on. That's like sad. Some ideas like, wow, you really thought that was a good idea? Whoa, I have stuff that I won't even name some of the stuff that I've got that like some too embarrassed what it's called, but I bought it because it's from the era.
Yeah.
Like they had some real missteps, man, but that's some great stuff. I mean, like Greg Kostikian stuff. Like I think Paranoia is a fantastic game. It's fun. He came out with that I think the same year as he did Toon, right?
Yeah.
And so great stuff exists, and I like to look at and buy it. But when you go to these auctions, it's kind of like it's like being on diet, and all of a sudden you're going to show up at the Bellagio for brunch. I'm like, man, I've always seen a copy of Tractics, but I've never owned one. Indiana Jones, I saw that in Dragon, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just have a tendency
I
to
think
go.
we made characters for that game, but I don't know that we ever played it. Like I remember being a kid and like someone would show up with a different box set
Oh yeah,
game every week, and we'd make
you
characters and maybe
got
play a session.
Gangbusters, man. You got Top Secret. I can look at my shelf and tell you
Yeah,
what they were.
I was traumatized by Top Secret.
Well, I won't tell Merle.
Top Secret killed romance for me in RPGs forever. Knockout lipstick. Ever since then, I'm convinced any romantic overtures whatsoever is either a succubus or it's going to be knockout lipstick.
Pretty much. No, I know what you mean though. We'd have like your one kid would show up with RuneQuest one week, and so you'd all learn a skill-based system, make characters. You play like maybe in a half hour, but you play it just like you played D&D. Then you move on to the next one because part of it was the art and the imagination they inspired, not the rules that were big to us. So
Yeah. So there's a question in the chat from Chris. Do you have any advice for someone, me, who wants to start producing written RPG modules or adventures? Question mark. Drive through RPG? Question mark.
Well, okay. Boy, I can tell you, I do seminars at every convention I go to with a man named Skeeter Green. We do a small publishers seminar. And the reason we do that is because I'm the guy who does not want you to waste your time or money on your own stuff. And if I could save you effort by telling you what I know, I'd love to. You can find me on Facebook. You can, Zach Glazer, you can look at the Frog God. You can contact me through our Discord server. I want to answer questions, but I'll tell you right now, what I did is not what I recommend anybody do. I made a box set. I printed it with a traditional printer in the United States. I assembled it. I made miniatures. I made cards. I did everything you could possibly do. It was expensive. It was all consuming, and it was financially a goose egg. I mean, even for 9 months of nonstop work. Now, mind you, I got a lot out of it, and I get to do this. But Drive Through RPG has the kind of tools and has the things there for you that if you have a vision to make a game, make a game. Don't become a publisher and do all the little publisher things unless you have a long-term plan that includes that. If you want to make games that you want people to play and you want to get money for that, there's not a lot of money in it, but you know what? There's enough to cover your beer and your art. And to start, everybody start. I mean, we all start somewhere. My first thing was I printed out a handbill basically and handed it to the game store saying my Kickstarter's coming, right? Everybody's got to start. But Drive-Thru's great. They treat their publishers really well. We use them for digital stuff and some printed stuff. They have options for you. What you're allowed to do with Drive-Thru is you know how to spend your time learning how books are bound. But I do recommend it. They have tools to help you sell stuff, and people now are really not that. PDFs are not like they were when I started. When I started, people treated them like you had a password to get into them, and they're all like, you have to buy the original book, and then you could get the password to see it. And then now they're designed. A lot of projects are designed. They are designed, produced, and die as PDFs, which never die, by the way, which makes them really great because they keep selling the backgrounds.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It is definitely a lot easier, and there are definitely, like you said, definitely easier ways to do it and kind of like cut your teeth. And I find this is also a really open industry where you can find a lot of people that are just willing to talk to you and give you free advice.
Well, it's not like it's a huge secret. We print books. We talk about elves. There's not like there's no code like in the back where we have some kind of industrial secret. We share an open license with each other.
So occasionally you do run into people and they're like, "We have proprietary system." I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah,
no way.
We can claim we do, but I can assure you, I know where they print their books and what they cost. I have a good idea.
Yeah.
Right, and so the only thing that you want to make sure of is that I think the one people are nervous about is that if they knew the per unit cost of a large book, they're like, well, how can you possibly justify charging this much? Because the rest of it costs a fortune to make. It's people are reticent to tell what the costs are behind it, mostly because you can't easily explain how everything else expensive rolls into the final price. So I think that's where you see the pushback.
Yeah, and also too, like there's like games or not games, books out now. Monty Cook has Play Your Best Game Ever, which is really a game about running games. I feel like that's a useful resource. Kobold Press, they have like a line of books that are like they're not like D&D or gaming books. They're just like they're about they are, but not like they're more like generic, and it's like world building and how to do this.
Yeah, no, they do that. We have Matt Finch. He won his Annie award that he won was for the Tome of Adventure Design, which is a book. It's actually I think it's our best book. Period. It's been a top seller since 2012 or 11.
And then clearly Frog Out Games has one of those books too, so you should go over there and check that out as well.
No, you should. Actually, there's a coupon I gave you in there in your chat. That's actually for like half off of a copy of the Tome of Adventure Design in PDF because it's the great. It truly is a great book. Matt wrote. That was basically. I'm trying to get him to write another one like it, and he just gives me the look like, well, man, you didn't write it. He basically it's his magnum opus in terms of how you can make a fun adventure happen for like almost any system.
Yeah.
And I used it when I wrote Whisper and Venom before I even knew who Matt was. I'm like, this guy seems like a loon. No, but it's a great.
This guy seems all right. Then you met him. No,
yeah. Now he's my neighbor. Now I make sure that he gets fed. No, I think that those kinds of books are awesome because it also shows that even if you don't ever become a publisher, but you look at making your own stuff and designing them, when you think about an audience as opposed to your players as your audience, but you think about other people as a consumer audience, um, what you what you get is you get a little bit higher level understanding of like what it is that motivates games and what makes them work and what makes them break and what doesn't. And it's something almost everybody here listening to this, you already know that innately. When you see it, you're not going to go, "Well, I never knew that. No way." What you're going to
Yeah.
see is the first time you read it, you actually knew it inside, right? What those kind of books do is help you make that add clarity and a little bit of a um, clarity and like simplicity to stuff that's a little more complicated general. So it makes it elegant, makes designs more elegant with the help. That's basically.
Yeah. I also just like studying like the adventures that you like their formats
Yeah.
and how they're written.
No, and you
Um
could do that all the way back to. I mean, I was amazed when I found out that G1 was 8 pages long.
oh
Like the Hill Giant Chief, man, we did that like 8 times. My memories were outsized, right? They were huge. Like we fought Snara, Snazra, and the guys were crazy. And oh, there were orcs in the kitchen. Yeah, it's 8 pages long and probably about maybe 3,000, 5,000 words most.
wow.
I mean, literally, all of our memories with those old modules are based upon the fact that they understood why imagination was important for the game. And that's no different now than I see it with Candlekeep. I thought Candlekeep was good because there are a lot of really short ones that left you just enough that you had a lot to go on from. It jump started your mind. I think so.
Yeah. So and then I would say like the biggest thing is just get in there and do it.
No,
Um
that absolutely it is. And if you do, certainly, if you do have questions about any part of the process, because don't spend 12 hours going, well, what is a drive-through RPG account that's exclusive versus non-exclusive? What should I do? You should ask, because literally there's no consulting business out here. I'm not taking away business from a consultant that will tell you. I want you to be successful, because the more people that publish, the more people that play, the more that we all are exposed to it, the better an industry is and the better off I am. I see that as an investment, just basically my own hobby that I care deeply about, to see other people do it. And I don't keep secrets. You can ask Dave. I think Dave asked me these kinds of these questions. I was
yeah, we've
I was about half good with you, right? I think I gave okay advice.
no, absolutely. You have actually spent quite a bit of time with me and Ted, and been very generous with your time. And again, too, like I said, this industry is full of people like Zach out there who are very, very kind with their time. And I think we all want to see it keep growing. We all want to see it
Yeah,
get bigger. We
yeah.
like this is the fun thing we like to do, and we want our hobby to be like bigger than all the other hobbies, right?
Well, it certainly should be bigger than that stupid Magic game. Tell you what, no,
Yeah, card floppers.
no, yeah.
Erg.
What is wrong with those people? You can't trust them. No, we do, and I think that the other thing is that it's hard to explain to people who don't do these kinds of things, but it's a hobby that has so much passion because it brings you can share this hobby in a way with your family or your friends that you couldn't before, that you can't do with a hobby like, say I was into off-road biking,
Yeah,
motorcycle riding. I can't take my mom doing that probably because it's just not. You have to there's a certain mindset and physical courage, etc. I can share this with just about anybody. My wife, who didn't know anything about any of this stuff, we got married. She didn't even know I played before that, right? 20
yeah,
years. I never heard of this D&D thing. Well, she works with a frog god now, and she's telling me to get mad because I forgot one of my dice, right? Or she's like, make sure you don't forget when you pick up a new book from me. Okay, who are you? But
yeah. That's crazy, right? So is your wife now a gamer?
uh, she will play. What she really is she's a nerd herder. She makes sure that she really likes this. She likes the stuff we print because she likes loves the art. She's played in games. She's played in Matt's game and
Yeah,
tried some others. But the social network of people we know at Frog God, the larger convention scene in general. There's met a lot of people that are her good friends, and we have a lot of things in common with people that we meet there that have nothing to do with gaming. I have people that I will send pictures of, like, this is the most delicious piece of goat meat I've had in a long time, and they're, oh
yeah.
yeah, it's great. You should get the goat meat up. We are very weird foodies, right? But I met them.
I know. I've seen your Facebook feed.
But the people I talk to about it, I met at conventions. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I admit it. I have weaknesses. Just lots of them.
So test with digital. If you bought one city module, would it be the Blight or Bard's Gate?
Okay, I'm gonna have to hedge here. Bard's Gate, because I don't know it as well. The Blight is what I did the Swords of Wizardry conversion for the Blight, and
Yeah.
it, Richard Pett is got something going on, man. That is a weird, dark world that, as I sat down to read it and doing the conversion, which when it's 1,000-page book, turning every GP period to GP for gold pieces over 1,000 pages is a wonderful experience that I recommend nobody try.
Yeah. Well, you can see over my shoulder. You can see the blight, and Bard's Gate is there as well. Um, the
Bard's Gate I like Bard's Gate for the reason that it's easier to integrate into most campaigns. The Blight is a wonderful book that has some really unique features. But if you're going to play a campaign you expect to be more traditional, Bard's
well,
Gate
if you had to use one to deter a burglar in your house, which one would you use?
For me, for our stuff, Bard's Gate. Otherwise, don't tell anybody. There's a couple other ones that are pretty good too.
No, no, no. Believe the blight is a much bigger book. So if you had to deter a burglar, the blight is.
No, for the burglar insurance. Oh yeah, hell yeah. I'll tell this story because we one time because we had a couple,
like this is a digital background, so I can't just pick up the book and show you guys. But the blight is like this.
No, it's 1,124 pages. It's not longer because you can't make a book bound that big. It's huge. It had five separate softcover books that went with it too that we couldn't fit in there. No, but we actually took it. The blight will stop at 38, but not at 45. How's that?
Yeah, interesting. Interesting that you know that.
Well, because we actually had leftover copies that were damaged, and we wanted to go to a range to clean weapons up at my boss's house, and I wonder if this would. We can find out. Ha ha ha. Well, 38 didn't go through it. Not at all. I was like, wow.
Oh man, I wish you guys had. Did you guys take pictures of that? That'd have been so cool to put up.
I've got it. I have the one, the 45 busted through the back end, but barely.
Yeah.
It was impressive just because I tell you what, Tome of Beast didn't do crap. Went through like butter. No. I'm kidding.
Take that, Wolfgang.
Yeah, well, he schools us all the time. He's sneaky.
He's a kobold, of course.
No, he is. No, he's one of the smartest guys I've ever met. But man, if you want someone who's on point that knows what's going on and is always nervous about it, Wolfgang is your guy. You'll never go wrong with anything he makes because
Isn't Wolfgang like a biochemist or something, or that's what he went to school for or something?
He went to school for, but I think he runs Pokemon USA or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I told my nephew that. Like, yeah, I know the guy runs Pokemon USA. Can you give me cards? No, I can't get you cards.
It's not how that works.
Well, I told the other kids I knew they were friends of my wife's sons. Like, oh yeah, I know people who work at Wizard of the Coast. Can you get magic cards? No, they wouldn't give me magic cards if I asked. There's no way I'm getting them for you. Smack. But I know a guy he drives a car once a month. He opens his trunk. There's cards from there. They're cheap. No.
Tell your nephew to start a YouTube channel and become successful at it, and they're somewhat successful at it, and then they will probably send them stuff.
Well, I get large numbers of things sent to me, and I feel bad because people spend the money to ship them. But I like to get the PDFs, especially. I just not having the room and knowing the expense involved. Good, but yes, a YouTube channel about gaming. Stuff starts raining out of the sky once it's a certain threshold.
And we don't keep most of it. Like we kept you guys are nice enough to send us stuff to give away and to keep on the shelf, and your books look nice on the shelf. So like the viewers can't really see, but there's that light blue binding like just over my shoulder. That's the Frog God section. And actually, for the longest time, the box set for Death and Taxes, you could see the eye in the background. But we had rearranged the set, and I think that box is just on the other side of the Colossal Red Dragon that they can't see.
It's next to the Colossal Red Dragon. For me, it's up by the French Viewmasters, next to the copy of Chainmail and the 75th anniversary. Sorry, the 25th anniversary box for TSR. That's where mine is.
But yeah, we give away most of the stuff we get. I actually was forced to keep this one. Because they put my name on it.
Yeah, so. Better. No, honestly, I actually want to, for brand new stuff, like I will go down to the hobby stores. I will buy hundreds of dollars of stuff a month to look at new product and actually feel it, take a look at it. Like I got there's a one-shot encounter for 5e that came with a big miniature, and I've never seen the layout for it. I bought some of the stuff from Mork Borg that I like, but I didn't see the newer ones, and that's where I got my Alien game, and that's where I got a copy of the Zorro game. I care about those things, and I care about how they package and produce things a lot. So I actually buy those, and I have to write them off. So I then sell them, and I donate them to charity. So.
Oh, cool.
Well, I don't have space. If I had the space to like every game that I bought and went through, I only keep the ones that are either foreign editions or like licensed stuff that's odd, like Labyrinth, the Labyrinth
Yeah.
movie license, or stuff from Zorro. I think those are interesting and cool. I keep those, but the ones that are encounters are real basic. Like this is a tray to do this with your dice. I have 1,000 dice, but I don't have any room for dice trays. So I will look at it real close, and then we'll move into pile and make sure somebody gets it. But this is expense actually, because we have to do that before I can write and get quotes for anything fancy out of the companies in Hong Kong. I have to be able to describe them and be able to take pictures and measure and do all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I don't get to keep many dice trays and dice anymore when they show, because my wife is slowly becoming more of a gamer. It only took like, I don't know, we've been together since '93.
Yeah,
it's only been the last
it's
few
scary,
years.
huh? It's kind of creepy. You're like nervous at first, like this is a trap. I know it.
Yeah,
you're confident that you're gonna turn around, and next thing you know, you're like, she sold it all on eBay. She just want to know the value, but no. We have our front room has become more and more game stuff because she bought a Call of Cthulhu dice bag and got her own. I was like, oh, that's so nice. Like,
oh, she likes
my
that
stuff out here. No,
she likes that. There's a woman from New Zealand that has these like handcrafted bags, and there's a Bag Thulu bag.
Yep. Oh, yep. I know who she is. I think I've seen her stuff on Etsy.
Yeah. Bridget.
Yeah.
Does some fantastic work, and also she also did Dragons Baggins. Again, they're like these big pouches, but then they have like the stuffed animal component to them.
This goes back to about being a bigger hobby. It's like I see things like someone wants to sell me D&D coffee, and it's called like fake life or something like that, like basically feign death, but in reverse for coffee. It makes you wake up. But I saw a woman making specialty cupcake recipes based on D&D things, and then she was way ahead of the curve because then I got the Hero's Feast, right? I mean, John Peterson worked on that, and I didn't even know he was doing so. He did that in the art book, Art Arcana. And hey, I know John Pearson. He's way too cool to be doing. Oh wait, I'm jealous. That's what that feeling is, right?
I know of like there's like 3 or 4 like documentaries now just on the art of D&D.
Well, and I tell you what, it can be, because honestly, the art's amazing. It's evocative. The most amazing part is when I met Jeff Easley, and he was just the nicest, most unassuming person ever.
Yeah.
And I said, so how do you do your job? Like, you have orcs on Tuesday and undead Thursday, and you do dragons on the weekend? He goes, yeah, pretty much.
I know, it's crazy. Like the business meetings are crazy. Like the things that we talk about.
Oh, no, that is true. I always make that joke to people we don't do. I'm like, gotta go, got a meeting about goblins. Yeah, actually I do. Goblins are on the agenda.
A couple of weeks ago, we had Douglas Niles on.
Oh yeah, man, he is badass. Reptile God, one of my favorite modules too. So.
He was super nice to talk to and have on, but I knew him more from like his novels than anything else.
I read some of his alternative history novels, but I knew him from the game originally.
Yeah, well, so I read all of like his TSR novels back in the day. Like he kicked off Forgotten Realms, I think, with the Mouche.
Don't tell Ed; he'll be upset. No, yeah,
well, yeah, true.
No, I'm just kidding. There's so many of them doing so much stuff there; it's crazy.
Yeah.
No, Doug Niles is amazing. I have a Dragonlance board game that he signed with Margaret Weiss.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is that he was just so fun and easy to talk to. Have you ever talked to the guy who did the Nail of the Plains? Jeff Grubb. You ever talked to him?
I have not.
He's my other favorite. Him, Steve Winter, and Doug Niles are my favorite of the era designers that they're active enough and we'll talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot I've met, but these guys just love games, man. And Jeff Grubb was just a hoot. And I thought his stuff was always kind of fun and like it was real succinct and clear. Well, then I met him and I found out he's an engineer. I was shocked.
Oh, wow.
My shock face. It was like, whoa, right? And it's cool to meet these guys. They're really fantastic. So
the thing that struck me about like the novelists from that time period is they were just so prolific. Like like now you got to wait. If you're lucky, you wait a year for your favorite author to put out another book. Those guys were doing like three, four. It felt like three, four books a year. I think
Because
he
they're paid
said.
by the word, man.
I think he said he was doing like 5 books every 2 years or something.
No, you can see it. Like we have people who write for us that write 3,000 words in a day. I say we
Yeah,
need 15,000 more modules. It comes back in 5 days. I couldn't write that much if I transcribed it, right? They people who can write well,
yeah,
professional. A lot of people can write well. Professional can write well fast, right, on spec, and it's amazing when they do it. It's a real skill. But I mean, I bet Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss turned out. I mean, how many words they got cut did they write, right? That's a serious profession. Authors are they got it going on, man.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and now it's like so I was so spoiled from my teenage years. I go to B. Dalton or Walden Books. Guys, you're gonna have to look at the archives to figure out what those
Were
ancient
you an
relics
Other
were.
Worlds member? Were you an Other Worlds member? The 10% off club at
Yeah,
Baldwin Books.
yeah, 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 for sure. And you just go and there'd be new books all the time. And now it's like so it's spoiled. It ruined me for adulthood when you like these authors and it's like are they going to ever finish this series or write a new book like
You can go read their blogs and their Twitter feeds, though. They're all over the place there.
yeah 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 why don't you stop blogging and finish your book, George R. Martin, that you've been
You know
working
what?
on
I
for
think, well, yeah,
a
again,
decade.
I think one of the things that's different from us is that self-publishing in novels, I know about it and how it works. We published a Kindle Adventure,
Yeah,
but it has fundamentally shifted the power differentials and how it all works in fiction. And fiction is another country to me. It's out there, and I know it's like adjacent because it has words,
yeah.
has dragons too, right? But it doesn't. The whole way the whole industry is completely different, and how people do the pay scales, how you meet and interact with people is not quite the same. So it may as well be Japan. I have no idea what's going on. So
A foreign land. So we are
foreign land,
just
but I'm jealous of them. Wish I could do that.
we're just past the hour mark. As always, folks, links are in the description. Go click and follow along. And there's also some special links in there just for you fine folks to check out. Final words before we head on out, Zach?
It was a pleasure to be back, man. I hadn't seen you in a while. I'm glad that you guys are still active and healthy. I'm glad that your audience is watching. Thanks for watching. Check us out if you haven't seen us. We are froggodgames.com is our landing website, but you can find us as Frog God and Necromancer, lots of places. We even have some of our books are available on Amazon.com. Check us out. If you have any questions about anything in general, especially if you're publishing questions you really do want to know an answer to and not spend money to find out if you're right or wrong, you can ask me anytime. And you can find me on Facebook and Dave. Be sure to get my contact. So
Awesome. And until next time, everyone, stay nerdy.
stay nerdy.